you read the entire source text before translation. And then, while reading the source text, you extract, research, and record the difficult words, phrases, and their translations before you begin the actual document translation process. I would like to stop upon each of these two parts of the proactive translation terminology management. First of all, it is very good advice to read the entire source text before translation. And I usually recommend it as well. And it is the best approach ever. But we shouldn't forget that translators are usually limited in time. And the time for terminology management, for proactive terminology management, is very limited. If our document is 50 pages, it is possible to scan read this document, this text, before translation completely. It is at least realistic. But if the translation project is about 500 pages, you can imagine how long it may take to read it thoroughly, or even scan read the whole document. And this is one of the disadvantages of the proactive terminology management approach, because doing it in advance doesn't seem realistic. Okay, there are some means that help us find most frequent words in the text. For example, there are some tools, there is some software that analyzes texts, corpus, text corpus. There, for example, Sketch Engine. You upload the text there, and you can find all the the words frequently used throughout the text. Of course, there will be a lot of pronouns and prepositions and everything, but we can ignore them and pick out only the terms and specific words that are used there. Another software to use is MateCat. I've already recommended you because it has glossary, and if several translators work on the same document, they can see glossary throughout the document, and they informed that there are some translations found in this within this or that segment. If we understand that this or that term is not the best one, and we are somewhere, we understand it in the middle of the day, somewhere in the middle of the project, there are two good approaches to managing this situation and one bad approach. So the first good approach is to go back if we are sure that the term should be translated in a different way, and it is 100%. We go back to the very beginning. We use automatic search and replace the old term with the new one. Don't use auto replacement because it's always a very tricky thing. It may replace everything, even something you don't want to be replaced. So you go from one point to another, from one segment to another, from one sentence to another, and replace manually. Or another approach is that you continue using this word, this translation of the term until the end of the document, but you shouldn't forget to make a note that the translation of the term should be replaced, and do the same thing that I have already told you about, but throughout the whole document. Bad thing to do is to just change your translation of this term in the middle and go on translating with this new term and do nothing about the first part. So sometimes we lose our notes. Sometimes if we don't make a note, just keep in mind that we should replace this term by another one. It's okay. We can never rely on our memory to 100%. So if we forget about it, we don't have a consistent terminology, and it is a big disadvantage, big minus to our translation work. Now, if we compare these two approaches to terminology management, I must say that though ad hoc translation is more spontaneous, not systematic, not time-consuming, and so on, still, while translating, we go deeper into the text. I've already mentioned that most of the documents are huge and you don't have time to read them with full and deep understanding of the subject, of the content of this text, and so on. But when we are translating, we go deeper and deeper, and then our terminology search is of higher awareness and of better quality. A translation glossary is an index of specific terminology with approved translations in all target languages, if many target languages are included, that is used by a company and their clients. So this is one of the definitions. And glossaries aid translators in ensuring each time a defined term appears in any language, it is used correctly and consistent. There are some benefits of having glossaries, and as translation agency or a freelance translator, it's quite important to have translation glossaries for many areas, for many fields. So by having a glossary of terms that appear frequently, translators can standardize parts of the process and eliminate unnecessary expenses from the outset. Consistent translations also mean you'll be able to rely on more on translation memory reuse in the future. So ultimately, this tool will enable you to keep translation costs low both now and later. Of course, it's more about time than money even. And when linguists immediately understand how you want specific terms translated, so if you involve more than one translator, you don't translate it them or the document on your own, but you share this translation work with other translators. They know how you expect them to translate this or that term, and the translation process speeds up immediately. Glossaries also help eliminate time-consuming and costly rework. It's highly important. I've already mentioned if you keep in mind terminology from the very beginning, both if you translate on your own or in a team, you don't have to rewrite it later on and pick the wrongly translated terms or terms translated in different ways with lots of synonyms and everything. So a clear and consistent glossary ensures that translators can avoid confusion and work considerably faster. So a good glossary permits consistent translation of product names and key terms. And for companies that hope to go or have already gone global, a translation glossary is crucial for helping maintain brand identity in varying markets.